Hey, what is up everybody, Blaze4 here, and today I have for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be going over the top best weapons to be prioritizing, going all the way to the lowest weapons that you should prioritize when it comes down to the 5-star spectrum. Now in this video, we're going to be pretty much just breaking down these weapons, in which you'll mainly see them on the screen, and it's going to be fairly interesting. I had to do a decent bit of research because a lot of you guys actually, or at least one of you guys, requested this video, and I said, you know what, we're going to double upload anyways today. This is going to be a good video to talk about. When it comes down to this, you guys, at the end of the day, it's a tier list type of deal. If you guys don't agree with it, tell me exactly why, stuff like that. It can be a little bit opinionated, but I was doing some heavy digging when it did come down to these weapons, so hear me out at least. But enough of the yapping, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. So we're going to start from the top tiers, of course. I would like to have this, so let's put this as S tier weapons, right? I'm not going to have too many in this tier list because I feel like having too many it would show as much weight for some of these weapons. So one of the few things that we're going to immediately look at is Puppet's weapon. Now, Puppet's weapon is absolutely insane. This weapon is one of the few that I've been trying to get since the beginning of the game, and it has yet to come home to me. The reason for this weapon that it's actually a crazy good weapon here is because it actually has mechanisms with it that utterly can reform your whole combat that you're usually doing, and actually make not only just the navigator being stronger themselves, but make your whole team absolutely insane while having some bonus things along with it. So with her actual weapon, you're able to get some nice defense, at least bonuses here, while also strengthening her Sea Guard. If you guys don't know exactly what that is by now, this is one of the things that she's actually able to do for her navigator skill. It makes a ton of a difference when it does come down to any defense teams or any just character who needs that extra attack and defense buff. This weapon is insane. It is a game-changing weapon, and if you do have it, I really suggest, if you don't have it, I really suggest getting it. I want to put this as mainly as the highest priority type of weapon here, and it's mainly because it just does too much. It has so many things that can really help out your team and utterly help out just any mechanism or any type of combat mechanism, that it feels as if, like, without it, once you get it, you will immediately see the change. And without it, if you've already had it and you just want to do a little bit of a testing, you can definitely see the test difference as well. This is one of the few weapons that no matter what, keep it at the top of your priority list. And that's all I got to say about this one. Absolutely amazing weapon. Now, when it comes down to the second weapon I do put at a high priority, this is going to be for Minami. Now, Minami is fairly cracked. As many of us know, she is a blessed healer that is very, very good, in which I have the weapon myself. I haven't really got her up because, of course, I've been slacking, but Minami's weapon itself is really good as well. This changes the whole character and how they actually react, giving you a nice little bit of lifesteal and also allowing you to deal a ton more healing in general with this character. Alongside of this, it will increase your damage to different things as well, which is really, really nice as well when it comes down to it. And I really do feel like this is one of those type of weapons that when we're looking at the overall amount of help that it can actually deal, it's unparalleled. Just like Puppet's weapon, this actual help of just having this 5-star is unparalleled. And the good part is you can go ahead and exchange this at a Y if you don't have the weapon yourself. I got lucky with pulling it, but if you do have the coins to exchange it, if you've been getting the battle pass and things like that, you will actually be able to exchange this on out and be really good with it as well. Don't think anything really tops this weapon besides, of course, Puppet's weapon, but who knows? I may be wrong. It does depend on some of you guys' answer on this one. But another reason why I mainly put this here is because it does come with its own little special mechanic as well, or at least bonus attribute, which really does help a lot of her whole kit and give you a little bit of something extra just for getting this weapon itself. Definitely feel like this is really helpful, and it should be on your priority list as well. Now, going into the third weapon that I wish I freaking had, and that's currently on my wish list, this is Mont's weapon. Now, Mont's weapon is really, really good. It's Winter's Queen, and this weapon changes the character. It doesn't even change your team, really. It just gives you a bunch of bonus stats that, to be honest, no other weapons really give you as much. This gives her a 36% crit rate increase, and not to mention this helps out her ice crystal stacks while also giving you some more damage increase in general if you get the max amount of your ice crystal stacks, which many of us do know is usually around 8 or 10, and that is what makes this so freaking good. Mont herself goes from being a character who's kind of in the medium good range to being supremely good once you get this 5-star weapon. Instead of it actually helping out your team a lot more, it is a little bit of a selfish weapon. So of course, if you are looking at it that way, this probably could be lower on your own tier list. But when it comes down to just drastically changing and utterly helping you out a lot, I definitely would put this as a prioritized immediately weapon, because we use Mont for pretty much anything. First of all, in Yusuke's team, she's able to go in there. She's really helpful in Guild Boss. Heck, she's good inside of Velvet. She's really good inside of SOS when you do need her. There are plenty of things that you can just sub her out into. And I feel like with this in mind, having this 5-star weapon really changes the game for her. So I definitely would say this is the 3rd priority weapon of the highest priority tier of S to actually want to get. Now going ahead and putting this now into the A tier, going to our A tier analysis here. I would like to say I probably should have put a tier list table on the top. I'll remember that next time. But when it comes down to the A tier weapons, they're just as good. They're really good. Nothing's wrong with these guys whatsoever, but I feel like they could offer a little bit more. That would be at least starting with Okyann's actual phone here, or vintage disco phone. This phone is hecka good. It was one of the first 5 stars I got on my TW account, and I won't lie, it makes a huge difference. But this is mainly going to be focusing on your team. As you guys already know, it helps out with Hot Dance, which is one of the few things that are able to increase a lot of your attribute boost, as well as increase your attack power in general. I feel like this phone makes a huge difference for mainly just your overall team, and which is why I kind of put this in a different tier. Instead of it being like specific mechanics or giving you those actual bonus attributes, this one already gives you attributes that you currently have, but also elaborates on the teammate spectrum. I feel like with that in mind, the vintage disco really does put itself into at least the top of the A tier priority rate. And I feel like a lot of you guys would probably enjoy having that a lot more, instead of, you know, kind of going for something else a little bit different. When you want to use the 4-star weapon for Okyann, you can definitely notice the difference. So I would definitely suggest trying to get this 5-star as fast as possible, because it does help you out by also returning a little bit of 1 beat as well, to help you at least get more of those stronger moves that Okyann can do by having 3 beats and such like that. Now going to the next weapon that I would say is really on the high priority list is going to be Riddle. Now this one I had to do some research for, because me myself, I have been trying to get this weapon, but I didn't really know exactly what it did. I just heard that people was like, hey, this weapon is really, really good. Go ahead and get this weapon. So I had to do a little bit of digging. I had to go ask some friends around and ask some people who were like really higher than me in level and junk like that, who knew what they were talking about this weapon. This weapon is way more cracked than I thought it was. First of all, we all know that Riddle is an absolute powerhouse when it comes down to the buffs. Well, same goes with her weapon. Once she has this weapon, not only is she already buffing just what she currently has for buffs, but she's giving you that attack percentage and more when you do have this. This is going to help you out with damage stealth. This is going to help you out when you're actually dealing damage with a different companion and things like that, which will utterly boost and bolster your overall team's just buffs in general. I already knew that Riddle was really, really good in general with just having what she had, but the 5-star weapon makes her a total different monster. And I really do feel like with Okyann being in the top of A tier, Riddle definitely belongs in the top of A tier as well. And I feel like a lot of you guys might agree with this as well. She's going to be helpful for a lot of these team enhancement type effects. So with that wide range variety being there, I definitely feel like this is a weapon you want to prioritize when you do get the chance to. This also applies for different little lineups or different other lineups that you're able to add the character in as well with at least the weapon. So I do feel like with that in mind, at least the movability of this character in general and having the weapon at least at your spare use, I would definitely say this is a really good weapon to get. Excuse me. And now, when it comes down to the next weapon, this one is going to be someone I did not expect. So, I actually ended up having to do some research on this one. I'll tell you immediately right now, this weapon I did not look at whatsoever until today. He is my boy. I definitely love Key. I'm waiting on him to get into the game, but I did not expect his weapon to be so broken. I'm not a person who uses fire teams too much, so I didn't really pay any attention, but Key's 5-star weapon is absolutely insane. Not only is it helping you out with the lifesteal boost here, but it also is helping you out in the burn status effects of things like that, which can really help out Key's overall increase of damage. As we know, he adds in some sacrificial things as well, where I think it was from his skill 1 or his skill 2, and this is insane because it actually makes Key a lot more needed, or at least useful in any team that he has, as long as he has another burn unit. This 5-star weapon is really good, and I expected it to be a little bit underwhelming. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but to be honest, it's actually not that bad. It's really good, and it actually belongs on many teams. This character can kind of float on different teams as long as you have some burn statuses on different enemies in general. So it definitely gives him a lot more variety when you do have this weapon. If you don't have the weapon, he kind of is stagnant. He doesn't have his real place. But if you do have Key's 5-star weapon, you can see that with at least any burn at any given moment, he's able to do a lot more for your team than you may think, and not only can boost your entire team for team enhancement effects in general. And I feel like this one is really good to actually keep as well in the back of your mind when you're getting 5-star weapons. Lastly, we're going to come down to one of the 5 stars that it hurt me putting down to at least A tier, but I have to agree that Ren's 5-star is A tier worthy, and it's the bottom of A tier in my opinion here. Now, the reason I'm going to do this, right, it does help out her team, but this weapon, surprisingly enough, can be replaced with her 4-star weapon. Yeah, that's the only reason why I kind of took it down at least a tier here. It does help out her team overall, and it does help her out with her Mamba suit stacks. But the main reason that we took this down a tier is just based off that 4-star weapon. So I've had this since the beginning of the game as well. But if we go ahead and take a look at the 4-star weapon, it gives you an attack boost increase, and which can be stacked, by the way, and lasts for 2 turns. But it also increases your speed, which is the main thing that Ren needs, right? We have the 5-star weapon, we get that 15, which is around 7 speed higher, but it's nothing like catastrophically different. This weapon actually is really good for a 4-star weapon, and no matter what anyone says, I will actually die on this hill for this. I feel like the 4-star weapon actually is really decent, and I feel like that's what really makes this weapon kind of get knocked down that extra tier. As much as I love the girl, and you guys know, like, first of all, I have the profile picture for it. I literally have her freaking nearly max duped. This isn't even me being biased. I feel like this weapon literally gets knocked down just because of the 4-star weapon being as good as it is. The 5-star kind of lacks its necessity, seeing that the difference of the 4-star and the 5-star isn't immensely different. So it makes me put this into the tier A section, or at least the bottom of the A tier section. But it still does help out inside of team enhancements and things like that. It just, it kind of lacks a little bit of that a huge margin between its 5-star and 4-star, which makes her belong here in the A tier section. All right, so if you made it this far into the video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for more. We're gonna have more informative videos like these, but let's go ahead and take a look into the B tier section of the video. And this some of these I feel like I'm a little bit harsh on, and I feel like you guys are gonna kind of agree with this when I do go over my next few recommendations here. So immediately taking a look at this next one is going to be the judgment one for Sumi, or at least the judgment for Yuki. Now, Yuki is a really good character. She's one of the few characters I got her 5-star really early, and this one I feel like, as good as it is, right? As good as it is, I think it could be better. It can definitely be better, and I don't think it's always needed, right? So for the character themselves, it's really a good weapon. It helps out with the defense increases. If you guys have seen some of the shields I'd be pulling off just for using this weapon, it helps out quite a lot, but it's mainly only helping for the character herself. It's not really going anything for like, what's it called? It's not really going for anything of the team themselves. It's only going for themselves for the most part, or at least a core character in general. So like for her, you would mainly be using it for Yuki. So it's only helping out a single person. It's not really helping the overall involvement of the team or being absolutely broken to say it's necessary or at least a priority in general. I feel like this weapon is really good. It's just lacking that need for either a team wide or being absolutely a must for a team in general or for a character. The weapon's pretty darn good, but it could be better, so I kept it down into the B tier side of things. Now, this next one as well is fairly interesting. I kind of don't like how I'm doing this as well because my boy Soy is amazing, but I feel like his weapon also is one of those lackluster weapons. This one is another B tier weapon that could be better. Don't get it twisted. Could be better, but it's only technically for himself. As we do know, Soy himself is a taunter. He's a character who's mainly meant to get off that wild savior and is also meant to be that tanky side of things, right? It's helpful for your team because he does have an AoE buff, but the weapon doesn't really contribute too much to that, making this weapon be a solid B tier to me. It does add some really nice things for the character, but it itself doesn't do much in my opinion when it does come down to like other things you need, right? It doesn't really give you that extra oomph that a lot of these other weapons are able to give. I feel like that's a little bit of a problem, but who knows? That may just be me thinking that. You guys may say something else, and actually I want you guys to actually comment that down below to let me know. Do you think this is a little bit of a harsh reality for this character? Do you think it's not? And if so, just let me know why, because I'm being honest with you, this is another one of those characters that I just don't see the necessity to get this weapon. It's just not needed. The next one here is going to be the man Fleuret's actual weapon. This is another one of those weapons that has its niche, but isn't necessarily needed. The weapon itself does help out inside of the crit rate side of things, but it's based on its highlight. What really gets this down is because it's mainly based on its highlight. Each time you gain a highlight, you're able to, of course, get more of this damage incentive here, or at least more damage in general. I don't feel like this should be, seeing that it's so hindered on, at least, seeing that it's so needed or required to use a highlight and things like that, I feel like it loses its value a lot. It's a good weapon, but seeing that we have to now rely on that so-called highlight here, I don't think this is a good weapon enough to actually make it useful for prioritizing. So I would definitely suggest this stays in B tier as well. Now we do have the man Leo's Lance. This is one of the few lances, or at least one of the few characters that I was kind of 50-50 on, either putting in A tier or B tier. After doing some more research on this weapon, I feel like he has a solid B tier. He's a good character at times. He has his places, but this boost is decent, but once again, it's only meant for like a little bit of one character. It's not meant for the whole part of your team, and it only is playing off of Leo himself. It's not really playing too much off of the team. It's not an overbearing type buff that makes it like absolutely stellar. It's just kind of that weapon that's there, right? It's in this little niche that is kind of useful, but I don't see it's needed to be at least a good prioritizing weapon. But of course, you guys can very well say differently with this one. I definitely say the Broken Destroyer needs to be around in the B tier section, but you guys can probably disagree with this or agree with it, but let me know down below in the comment section. Now going into our last B tier, this one, oh Lord, why do I feel like I'm about to get some actual hate for this? Because this one, I feel like a lot of people aren't gonna like me too much for putting this low. But all right, so immediately taking a look at our next weapon, I would like to take a look at least Tomoko. Now, Tomoko's weapon is it's okay. I don't like it. I don't think it's really good, and this is why it's at the bottom of B tier. Heck, barely hanging on to C tier. Reason being for this one is just there's too many just things wrong with this weapon, right? It requires you to just, no matter what, have you some nice sleep on it. It also requires you with some minimum buffs and things like that, but it's not anything too crazy, right? This weapon itself could have a lot more to do with it, but I think it's also because Moko, or at least Tomoko, doesn't really have her placement in a lot of teams as well. That makes me really rate this weapon so low. Now, some of you guys may beat me over the head with this, like, hey, what do you mean, Blade? There's things that she can actually do. The things that she can do are very much so niche, which is the reason why she is this low. Oh, by the way, we're not adding this weapon into this tier list here. I have not gotten the chance to actually kind of look at it. I definitely want to say it's high tier, but we're not going to be adding this in. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. With Tomoko, it just feels like, you know, it's okay. It has decent like uses for at least knocking down defenses, going against a boss, right? But it doesn't have anything that's really worth it. Like going against different things that are usually like a daily occurrence or things that you can do quite often, I don't feel like this weapon's needed. That's why I feel like this is like the lowest of B tier, heck, almost C tier. But you guys can kind of tell me down below how you feel about that one. Now we only have a few more weapons left. But when it comes down to the last few that really needs to be at the bottom of the barrel, we're going to go ahead and look at Cattle. Cattle's weapons aren't the best. I really don't think they're too niche. They're too like little and boosting in general, and I feel like this weapon is not necessarily needed. He isn't even used in most teams anymore, and so it doesn't even make this useful whatsoever. So this is the C tier weapon. Coming down to Ryuji, I definitely would like to say this weapon currently, and let me say this right now, currently is a C tier weapon. Only reasoning for this is because Ryuji himself does not have a team or any place that he kind of fits in, utterly dulling the absolute use for this weapon. If we go ahead and take that all into account, it's not really worth actually getting this weapon so early. If anything, you have a better chance of getting Morgana and Ann's weapons from anything else instead of getting Ryuji's weapon. I ended up even having it. This is literally coming from a person who has the dang weapon himself as well, and I can tell you, it's not worth it. It's one of the few useless weapons, at least until we get more things that are revolving around Yuki himself. It's too self-centered, and he has no way of actually making it useful for anyone on his team or anything that he is fighting. Now, for the ones that we did miss, because I'm looking around here, I think we've covered all of them except for these four, and they're kind of wild cards. They're the wild card honorable mention ones here, in which they kind of have some interesting places, but they can be moved. So for our wild card ones, which I'm not going to fully rank them, they had a lot of potential of being high tiers as well. Morgana's weapon. This weapon is really freaking good. It helps you a lot as well when it comes down to life itself. But now that we have like characters like Minami in here, it kind of puts a little bit of a damper on Morgana's weapon. If I was to say where this weapon would actually end up ranking, I would like to say this one is a B tier, but seeing as such a wild card and so much of how like where it could be, we're gonna keep it in the wild card status. Same goes a little bit with On here. This is really a good weapon or a decent weapon. Another weapon I do have as well. It's a decent weapon, but with her, once again, she's kind of like Hiyoshi, where you do have to have that burn or be in the subconscious state. But for her, it's a little bit of a bad pair, right? So the subconscious state is already something that she needs to be in herself, that is very like self-centered, nothing upon the team here. But then not only that, does she do require a burn person with her. It's always best to pair her with at least another burner to get her that extra at least damage up, aka Kiyoshi, in order to really get the best out of this weapon. Without having that said burn here, it could put her a little bit in the lower B tier or mid B tier for me. I definitely feel like this is kind of one of those wild cards that could be a little bit higher, but of course, based on like whatever you guys want to go with, I feel like this one, no matter what, it's going to be a B tier or either very, very low A tier. But I'll let you guys kind of decide that. Now, coming down to the man's Sepia. This weapon, I love it. I love Sepia to death. The only issue is why I'm actually keeping this in the wild card status and I can't put it in A or anything like that. It's because his team itself, it's hard to actually place this character in a team right now. Currently, with how DOT works in this game, it's really good for his kit, but seeing how DOT is in this game, it puts him in a wild card status. Now, if we get more characters that are really helpful for his curse damage, upgrading this attack boost, and actually being really helpful for his team, I can see this being really useful. Unfortunately, this is probably like a tier 3, so I want to say maybe, I don't know, maybe C tier, top of C tier, I would like to say for this weapon. I don't think it belongs to be any higher than that. It does help out a decent bit, but it's mainly a self-centered weapon that helps only the character, but not so much of the team that they're on. But wildcard status as well for this one. And then lastly, checking out Closer. I don't know how I missed this one. Closers is one of the few characters that I would like to say this is a solid A tier to B tier weapon. Reasoning for this is because it's actually really helpful. Closer does help out her team quite a lot, especially when it does come down to the things she's able to do. And just getting this weapon will help you out not only in the shock damage factor, but also help you out with her overall damage with her persona, which can utterly help your whole team out in general. She does give you some decent boost as well, so if you go ahead and take this boost that she gets from her 5-star weapon, it can be pretty helpful. I would like to say this character themselves can make themselves known, so I want to say at least middle and bottom A tier to at least high B tier. This is a really good weapon, but it just needs to find its little place. But once again, wild card. I'll have all this timestamp down below. You guys can actually decide if I at least rated these guys absolutely worth it or not, and let me know exactly why. Next time we're gonna actually get a tier list table up. It might make this a little easier to understand, but till then, everybody, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button before ahead and consider subscribing if you are new. We do daily videos, and until next time, peace.